Ever wonder why a rock star's name was almost attached to a wholesome family sitcom? Or how Mark Curry literally played in a real NBA game for his TV show? From bizarre accidents involving aerosol cans to secret connections with Full House sets, Hangin with Mr. Cooper harbored some of the strangest behind-the-scenes stories in 90s television. These surprising facts reveal a show that was far weirder than its TGIF reputation suggested. Fact 1. Alice Cooper was almost the theme song creator. When the producers of Hangin with Mr. Cooper were putting together their new sitcom in 1992, they had a vision that was very different from what audiences eventually saw on their television screens. The show's creators actually reached out to shock rock legend Alice Cooper to compose and perform the theme song for what would become one of ABC's most beloved family-friendly sitcoms. Alice Cooper, whose real name is Vincent Damon Furnier, was already a household name by the early 1990s, known for his theatrical stage performances featuring guillotines, fake blood, and elaborate, horror-themed costumes. His hits like School's Out and No More Mr. Nice Guy had made him a rock icon, but his dark, macabre image was about as far from wholesome family entertainment as you could get. The idea of having Alice Cooper create music for a show about a former basketball player turned high school teacher living with two female roommates would have completely changed the entire tone and direction of the series. Instead of the upbeat, R&B influenced theme that eventually featured the vocal group En Vogue, viewers might have heard heavy guitar riffs and Alice Cooper's distinctive gravelly voice welcoming them into Mr. Cooper's world each week. Unfortunately for rock music fans who might have enjoyed this unusual pairing, Alice Cooper had to decline the offer due to scheduling conflicts with his touring and recording commitments. The timing simply didn't work out, as he was in the middle of promoting his album, Hey Stupid, and had a packed concert schedule that made it impossible to dedicate time to television work. This missed opportunity represents one of the most surprising what-if moments in television history, where a shock rock legend almost became the voice behind a show that would go on to be a staple of ABC's wholesome TGIF lineup. The contrast between Alice Cooper's theatrical horror persona and Mark Curry's comedic family-friendly character would have created one of the most unexpected theme song combinations in sitcom history. Fact 2. Mark Curry actually played in real NBA game. Most television shows use carefully choreographed scenes and body doubles when their actors need to perform athletic feats, but Hangin with Mr. Cooper took an entirely different approach when they decided to have Mark Curry's character play professional basketball. In what might be one of the most authentic sports scenes ever filmed for a sitcom, Mark Curry actually suited up and played in a real National Basketball Association preseason game between the Golden State Warriors and the Phoenix Suns. The episode in question was part of a two-part storyline where Mark Cooper gets offered a contract to play for the Warriors after finally landing a permanent teaching job as a basketball coach. Rather than fake the basketball sequences on a studio set or use clever camera angles to hide the fact that their lead actor wasn't actually playing, the show's producers arranged something unprecedented in television production. The practice scenes were filmed at the Warriors' actual home court in Oakland, California, giving the show authentic NBA atmosphere and settings. However, the real game footage was recorded at the University of California's gymnasium in Berkeley, where an actual preseason matchup between the Warriors and Phoenix Suns was taking place. The location choice wasn't random either. The game was held in Berkeley specifically because Kevin Johnson, who was playing for Phoenix at the time and happened to be a University of California Berkeley alumni, was having his college jersey number retired that same night. What makes this even more remarkable is that none of Mark Curry's scenes during the game were specially scripted or choreographed for television. The cameras simply rolled while Curry participated in the actual game alongside real NBA players, coaches, and officials. The scenes that viewers saw on television were genuine moments from a legitimate professional basketball game, not carefully staged television magic. This unprecedented level of authenticity meant that Mark Curry can legitimately claim to have played in an NBA game, even if it was just a preseason contest. The show's commitment to realism in this storyline created a unique piece of television history, where the line between fiction and reality completely disappeared. Fact 3. Pilot used Growing Pains' exact same set. Fact 7. Dawn Lewis left for double the money. The departure of Dawn Lewis from Hangin with Mr. Cooper after just one season was actually the result of a lucrative offer that she couldn't refuse, rather than any creative differences or dissatisfaction with the show. When Jeff Franklin, the creator of Hangin with Mr. Cooper, approached Lewis about joining his new sitcom, he offered her double the salary she was earning on her previous show, A Different World, making the move an obvious financial decision. Dawn Lewis had been a main cast member on A Different World since 1987, playing Jaleesa Vinson, an older student who returned to college after getting divorced. The show was a spin-off of The Cosby Show and had been quite successful for NBC, but by 1992, it was approaching the end of its run, and Lewis was looking for new opportunities to advance her career. When Franklin made his offer for Hangin with Mr. Cooper, Lewis was essentially being recruited from one successful sitcom to join another, but with a significantly better financial package. The doubling of her salary represented a major career upgrade that would have been difficult for any working actor to turn down, especially since it meant moving from a show that was winding down to a brand new series with potential for long-term success. However, Lewis's departure after the first season meant that the show's creators had to completely restructure their cast and concept. The original format had focused on Mark Cooper living with two female roommates in a more adult-oriented sitcom setting. When Lewis left, the producers decided to shift the show's direction entirely by bringing in family-friendly characters that would appeal to a broader audience. This led to the introduction of Sondra Quarterman as Geneva Lee, Mark's cousin, and most notably, 7-year-old Raven Simonet as her daughter Nicole. This casting change transformed the show from an adult roommate comedy into a family sitcom, completely altering its tone and target audience for the remaining 4 seasons. Fact 8. Raven Simonet was only 7 years old. When Raven Simonet joined the cast of Hangin with Mr. Cooper in 1993, she was just 7 years old and already had several years of professional acting experience under her belt. She came to the show directly from her role as Olivia Kendall on The Cosby Show, where she had been charming audiences since she was 4 years old, making her one of the youngest actors to successfully transition from one hit sitcom to another. Her casting on Hangin with Mr. Cooper represented a significant shift in the show's format, as the producers were looking to make the series more family-friendly after Dawn Lewis's departure. Raven Simonet played Nicole Lee, the young daughter of Mark Cooper's cousin Geneva, and her presence immediately changed the dynamic of the show from an adult roommate comedy to a family sitcom that could appeal to viewers of all ages. Despite her young age, Raven Simonet quickly formed strong relationships with her adult co-stars, particularly Mark Curry and Holly Robinson Peete. These bonds proved to be much more than typical workplace friendships, as they developed into genuine mentoring relationships that have lasted well into adulthood. Mark Curry and Holly Robinson Peete became protective figures in her life, helping guide her through the challenges of growing up in the entertainment industry. The closeness of these relationships became evident years later when Raven Simonet revealed in interviews that she, Mark Curry, and Holly Robinson Peete still maintain regular contact and occasionally have what she playfully calls private reboots of their show when they get together. These informal reunions happen at their homes, where they reminisce about their time working together and catch up on each other's lives. This enduring friendship demonstrates how the young actress was truly embraced as part of the Hangin with Mr. Cooper family, with her co-stars taking on almost parental roles in her development, both as a performer and as a person. The genuine care and support she received from the cast helped her navigate the transition from child star to successful adult entertainer. Fact 9. ABC planned Secret Season 6 backup plan. Behind the scenes during the 1996 to 1997 television season, ABC executives had developed a secret contingency plan that could have brought Hangin with Mr. Cooper back from cancellation if their new shows failed to find an audience. The network was prepared to resurrect both Hangin with Mr. Cooper and Step by Step as mid-season replacement series if either of their freshman comedies, Sabrina the Teenage Witch or Clueless, were canceled due to poor ratings. This backup strategy revealed how much confidence ABC still had in their established TGIF properties, even after deciding to end their runs in favor of newer programming. The network understood that both shows had loyal fan bases and proven track records, making them safer bets than completely untested series if their fall lineup didn't perform as expected. The most intriguing part of this potential revival plan involved the storyline that Mark Curry had specifically requested for a hypothetical sixth season. According to reports, Curry wanted the wedding between his character Mark Cooper and Holly Robinson Peete's character Vanessa Russell to serve as the season premiere episode, rather than being used as a series finale. This would have given fans the romantic payoff they had been waiting for, while also providing a fresh starting point for new storylines. As it turned out, the backup plan became partially necessary when Clueless was indeed canceled in February of 1997. ABC did bring back Step by Step as a mid-season replacement in March, proving that their contingency strategy was real and operational. However, Hangin' with Mr. Cooper was not revived, despite the original plans. Sabrina the Teenage Witch proved successful enough to remain on ABC for 4 seasons before eventually moving to the WB network, which meant that particular backup option was never needed. Meanwhile, CBS ended up picking up both Step by Step and Family Matters when that network attempted to create their own Friday night comedy block called the CBS Block Party, making Hangin' with Mr. Cooper the only TGIF show that remained permanently canceled after the 1996-97 season. Fact 10. Show had 3 different theme songs. Most television sitcoms stick with one theme song throughout their entire run, but Hangin' with Mr. Cooper went through 3 completely different opening themes during its 5 seasons, reflecting the major changes in the show's cast, tone, and target audience. This unusually high number of theme song changes made it one of the most musically diverse sitcoms of the 1990s. The first season featured the original theme song performed by the cast members Holly Robinson Peete and Dawn Lewis, alongside the supergroup En Vogue. This opening was styled like a music video and had an upbeat R&B sound that matched the show's initial adult-oriented format. The song was written by Denzel Foster and Thomas McElroy, who were also responsible for many of En Vogue's biggest hits during that era. When the show moved into its second season, the producers completely replaced the En Vogue theme with a cover version of Soul Man, the classic soul song originally recorded by Sam and Dave in the 1960s. This version was performed by Howard Hewitt, a respected R&B singer who had been the lead vocalist for the group Shalimar. The choice to use Soul Man represented a shift toward a more traditional sitcom opening, while still maintaining the show's connection to African-American musical culture. For the final 3 seasons, the show adopted yet another completely different theme called Cooper, which was performed by a trio of singers including Sherwood Ball, Carmen Carter, and Orrin Waters. This third theme song was written by Gary Boren and Stephen Chesney, who also composed much of the background music and transition cues that were used throughout the later seasons of the show. Each theme change corresponded with significant shifts in the show's format and cast, from the adult roommate comedy of Season 1 to the transitional second season, and finally to the family-friendly format that dominated the show's final years. The music choices reflected these evolving demographics and storytelling approaches, making the theme songs a musical timeline of the show's evolution. Fact 11. Real Warriors players made cameos. The basketball episodes of Hangin' with Mr. Cooper featured authentic National Basketball Association talent that went far beyond just using the Golden State Warriors' name and uniforms for the storyline. Actual members of the Warriors organization, including some of the team's biggest stars and coaching staff, appeared as themselves in the episodes where Mark Cooper gets his chance to play professional basketball. Head coach Don Nelson, who was leading the Warriors during the early 1990s, appeared in the episodes and interacted directly with Mark Curry's character, as if he were a real potential team member. Nelson was a well-respected figure in professional basketball, having previously played for the Boston Celtics and coached several NBA teams before taking over the Warriors, making his participation a significant addition to the show's credibility. The episodes also featured appearances by Tim Hardaway, one of the Warriors' star players, who was known for his exceptional ball-handling skills and his signature crossover dribble that became famous throughout the league. Hardaway was at the peak of his career during this time period and was considered one of the most exciting point guards in professional basketball, making his willingness to appear on a television sitcom quite remarkable. Chris Mullin, another Warriors star player, also made an appearance in the basketball storyline. Mullin was a skilled shooter and versatile forward who had been with the Warriors since the mid-1980s and was one of the team's most popular players among fans in the Oakland area where the show was set. The presence of these legitimate NBA figures created an unprecedented level of authenticity for a television sitcom, as viewers were watching real professional athletes and coaches interacting with the fictional character, as if the storyline were actually happening. This blending of real sports personalities with scripted comedy was unusual for television at the time, and demonstrated the show's commitment to making the basketball elements as realistic as possible, rather than relying on actors pretending to be professional athletes. Fact 12. Mark Curry's character name confusion. The end credits of Hangin with Mr. Cooper's very first episode featured an unusual and humorous moment where the real Mark Curry actually interrupted the production company logo sequence to address viewers directly about the potential confusion surrounding his name. This playful bit acknowledged what could have been a confusing situation for audiences trying to figure out whether they were watching an actor playing a character or someone essentially playing a version of himself. The situation arose because both the real person and the fictional character shared not only the same first name, but also very similar backgrounds. As Mark Curry, the actor actually was from Oakland, California, just like his television character Mark Cooper. This overlap between reality and fiction created an unusual case where the show's star was playing someone who was remarkably close to his own identity, making the line between actor and character somewhat blurry. During the end credits scene, Mark Curry steps forward and speaks directly to the camera, breaking the fourth wall to properly introduce himself to viewers as the actual person behind the character. The moment was designed as a lighthearted way to clear up any potential confusion, while also serving as a clever piece of self-referential humor that acknowledged the unusual naming situation. This type of direct address to the audience was relatively uncommon in sitcoms of the early 1990s, as most shows maintained strict boundaries between their fictional worlds and reality. The decision to include this explanatory moment demonstrated both Mark Curry's comedic timing and the show's willingness to be playful with television conventions right from its debut episode. The credits scene also served a practical purpose by helping establish Mark Curry's personality and comedic style for viewers who might not have been familiar with his previous work in stand-up comedy. By showing him speaking directly to the audience in his own voice rather than as his character, the moment gave viewers a glimpse of the real person they would be watching each week, creating a more personal connection between the performer and his audience. Fact 13. Full House crossover was second episode. In an extremely unusual move for a brand new television series, Hangin with Mr. Cooper featured a crossover episode with the established hit show Full House in just its second episode, demonstrating remarkable confidence from both the network and the show's creators. This early crossover represented one of the fastest connections between two sitcoms in television history, as most shows wait until they're well established before attempting such collaborative storylines. The crossover made perfect sense from a production standpoint, as both shows were created by Jeff Franklin and shared the same behind-the-scenes team at ABC. Full House was already a massive success for the network and had been running since 1987, making it an ideal partner to help launch the new series and introduce audiences to Mark Curry's character and comedic style. The episode, titled Hangin' with Michelle, brought together the worlds of both shows when Mark Cooper gets a substitute teaching job in Michelle Tanner's classroom. This setup allowed the crossover to feel natural rather than forced, as it gave Mark's character a legitimate reason to interact with the Full House family in their familiar San Francisco setting. John Stamos appeared in the episode as his Full House character Jesse Katsopoulos, bringing his established fan base and star power to help promote the new show. The appearance was significant because Stamos was one of Full House's most popular cast members, and his participation helped legitimize Hangin with Mr. Cooper in the eyes of viewers who were already loyal to the TGIF lineup. The Olsen twins, Mary-Kate and Ashley, who shared the role of Michelle Tanner, also appeared in the crossover episode. At the time, they were among the most recognizable child stars on television, and their inclusion helped attract younger viewers who might not have otherwise discovered the new show. This early crossover strategy proved successful in establishing Hangin with Mr. Cooper as part of the ABC family of sitcoms, creating immediate connections with existing audiences, and helping the show find its place within the network's popular Friday night programming block. Fact 14. Became more family-friendly to boost ratings. The transformation of Hangin with Mr. Cooper from an adult-oriented sitcom into a family-friendly show represents one of the most dramatic format changes in television history, as the producers completely restructured the series to appeal to a broader audience after its first season. The original concept had focused on Mark Cooper as a former basketball player living platonically with two female roommates, creating storylines that were primarily aimed at adult viewers and young adults. During the first season, the show dealt with more mature themes and relationship dynamics that were typical of adult-oriented sitcoms of the early 1990s. The comedy came from the interactions between three adults, navigating their careers, friendships, and romantic relationships, with Mark serving as the comedic center of this living arrangement while working as a substitute teacher and gym coach. However, when the show's ratings failed to meet ABC's expectations and Dawn Lewis decided to leave for other opportunities, the network and producers made a strategic decision to completely overhaul the show's format. They recognized that family-oriented sitcoms were performing better in the ratings, particularly on Friday nights as part of the TGIF programming block, where shows like Full House and Family Matters had found tremendous success. The second season introduced significant changes that shifted the show's target demographic entirely. The producers brought in Sondra Quarterman as Geneva Lee, Mark's cousin who moves in with her young daughter Nicole, played by 7-year-old Raven Simonet. This casting decision immediately transformed the show from a story about adult roommates into a family sitcom centered around child-friendly humor and situations. The addition of child characters also brought in Marquise Wilson as Tyler Foster, the young neighbor who became a regular part of the show's ensemble. These changes meant that the series could now appeal to parents watching with their children, creating a much broader potential audience than the original adult-focused format had been able to attract, ultimately helping the show find its place within ABC's successful family comedy lineup. Fact 15. Mark Curry contemplated suicide after accident. The physical trauma of Mark Curry's explosion accident in 2007 was only part of the challenge he faced during his recovery, as the emotional and psychological impact of his injuries led him to contemplate ending his own life while he was struggling to heal from his burns. The comedian, who had spent years bringing laughter to millions of viewers, found himself in such a dark mental state that he seriously considered suicide as a way to escape the pain and depression that followed his accident. After spending 3 days in a medically induced coma and facing months of painful recovery treatments, Curry entered what he later described as a deep depression that made it difficult for him to see any hope for his future. The combination of physical pain from his burns, the shock of nearly dying in such a sudden and unexpected way, and the uncertainty about whether he would ever fully recover created an overwhelming sense of despair that pushed him toward thoughts of self-harm. During this critical period in his recovery, several of Curry's friends from the comedy world reached out to provide the emotional support that ultimately saved his life. Bill Cosby, who was a respected figure in the entertainment industry at the time, called Curry during his darkest moments and provided encouragement that helped turn his mindset around. According to Curry's own accounts, Cosby told him to keep his head up and be strong, advice that had an immediate and profound impact on the struggling comedian. The phone conversation with Cosby proved to be a turning point. as Curry later recalled that he started crying during the call but felt a renewed sense of hope afterward. Within just a few days of receiving that support, Curry was able to take his first steps since the accident, and even returned to performing stand-up comedy at a San Francisco comedy club, demonstrating his remarkable resilience and determination to rebuild his life. The intervention of his fellow comedians showed the importance of community support during times of crisis, and illustrated how professional relationships in the entertainment industry can become genuine friendships that provide life-saving assistance when it's needed most.